I didn't have bad feelings about my body during my pregnancy. Postpartum is when all that stuff is showing up. So pregnancy is empowering, especially if you let go of all these expectations and stop watching all these Instagram videos of all these people doing all these crazy things. And especially when you give birth, stay away from Instagram, believe me. And I think it's just allowing yourself to experience it for yourself and asking for help and doing therapy. The best therapy you'll ever do is during your pregnancy. Hello, welcome to Eat, Cringe, Heal, where nourishment meets self-discovery and laughter is part of the healing process.
I'm Saba, a certified nutrition consultant and holistic chef, passionate about transforming lives through food because healing starts from the inside out.
And I'm Wada, the creator of the Cringe Method, here to shake up your personal growth journey with a mix of deep insights, uncomfortable truths, and a whole lot of cringe.
Together, we dive into the messy, magical intersection of food, vulnerability, and self-evolution. Whether you're here for the recipes, the real talk, or those, oh my God, same moments, pull up a seat. We're serving up nourishment for your body, mind, and soul.
So let's begin.
In this episode, we'll explore the connection between pregnancy, nourishment, and healing, sharing insights and our personal stories to help you navigate this unique chapter with intention and care.
I think in another episode when we talk about birth, I don't think I did anything to birth my child. My body did everything.
Yeah.
And you did different type of work, I think.
I did some somatic experiencing work, which I was working with that therapist for a year prior. And that was really incredible, really helpful. It's a completely different type of therapy. It's more about feeling in your body, how different sensations what comes up when you're facing different subjects or whatever, and then how that feels in your body, and then working through that and dissolving it. It's very powerful stuff. And for me, I feel like it helped me a lot. And then I stopped doing that. I was just practicing pregnancy yoga afterwards. And then just before I gave birth, the 2 weeks before, a friend of mine came who's an incredible therapist. She does somatic experiencing. She's also a psychotherapist, and she does EFT tapping and vortex healing. I don't know, all this stuff that's I just know the top of what it is, but I've experienced it and it's super profound. And she came to visit me, and we did a little session together while she was there, because I had this there was this little voice in my head being you can't do this, or you're not deserving of giving birth or having a baby, because I was told that I wasn't ever going to be able to have babies, or it would be really difficult for me to have babies by multiple different doctors. And I thought I had cleared it and done the work, but obviously this little tiny voice is still in there telling me that I couldn't.
I think when you're pregnant, you're vulnerable, and all these old voices can show up.
Yeah.
And it's okay that they do, as long as you have the tools.
Yeah, so luckily, I have this incredible friend, Dial. So I went over. So basically, I was planning on doing a home birth, which is why we went to Mallorca, because it's illegal to do home births here. And the midwife was I can only work with you until 42 weeks. If you go over 42 weeks, then I can't legally do it, a home birth, because you have to go to the hospital, unless you sign this waiver. But I was okay, let's see how it goes.
Yeah, as soon as they give you waivers and things, it just doesn't feel good. It scares you.
Okay, yeah. We're okay, well, maybe, let's see. But then I went and got it. She was you should also go and get a scan, because she was just coming in, just listening to the heartbeat, checking my belly and everything. And so I went and did a scan, and that midwife was you have no amniotic fluid left. There's maybe, I can't even see any. And I was whoa, okay.
I hope you know now that can't be a thing.
It was a thing, apparently, so it is a thing. Basically, as the pregnancy continues past term or whatever, the amniotic fluid reduces. So when he was you have 24 hours basically to birth this baby at home.
I remember.
And obviously, all that pressure is not going to help. And I had my mom there, and my sister had already been there for a month. And every day, every morning, I was so did you have the baby? I was like, leave me alone. It was like, yeah, it was multiple things. But yeah, so I managed to call my friend and I was like talking to her and she was like guiding me through this. And she was like, what is it that's stopping you? And it was that voice. It was that voice. So once I finally was able to talk about it and open up about it, I was like cried my eyes out. And then my body was then able to relax a little bit more. But yeah, I had to be induced still. And yeah, they couldn't find, they like opened what is it called? Like when they ruptured the sac, there was like not even a drop of fluid in there.
Wow, okay.
Whoa, there's nothing.
So my midwife was wrong.
Yeah, it can happen. But yeah, so it was like, she came out like a snake. She was like a snake that was like, her skin was like peeling off.
Aww.
But yeah, I was able to still like birth her in like a lot of the ways that I wanted to. But it was that thought in my head that was like stopping me. But it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy because that was like how many years before?
Like I was told when I was 15 that I had PCOS, so I wouldn't be able to. It would be really difficult for me and I would most likely be infertile. Isn't that crazy that they tell a 15-year-old girl that?
Yeah, that is really crazy. And I'm so sorry that happened because, well, I had a different message. My mom used to always say, listen, you come from a line of very, very fertile women. You will just be near it and you get pregnant. That's what she used to tell me all the time. So that was what was installed in my head. And it's, if you really think about it, I really got pregnant so quickly. It's like, I think it's that belief that drummed into me that my mom used to say all the time. And also with the birth, my mother always had this thing of like, oh yeah, birthing is something we can do. It's in our DNA. Yeah, so I was already trained. So when we do the birth episode, we'll talk about it. And it's all these like little beliefs. And now I wish I really worked with someone that really understood my subconscious beliefs.
Yeah.
And helped me release those.
Yeah.
So I could have had a better pregnancy journey. But I wouldn't have any other way now anyway, because that's what I needed. And that's the work that showed up for me. You know, I used to be the type of person like, yeah, okay, I'll eat organic, I'll eat clean, and I'll eat whenever I can. And during my pregnancy, I learned that that's not something that I can do. So for me, one of the biggest things, iron was a huge thing for me on my second trimester.
Yeah, which it is for most women because your blood volume, it doubles. So you need to make sure that you're like having iron-rich foods. Yeah, and you're just like constantly nourishing yourself. I actually usually recommend, because a lot of women start to feel like there's like less space because like obviously the baby starts taking up more space and your stomach is like pushed. So like they can't eat as much and you're having that problem as well. So it's like to spread out into like smaller meals, like maybe like 6 little meals throughout the day.
Yeah, I was either hungry, I was either like starving or totally full. I needed to throw up. It was horrible. So now that we're talking about this, you were plant-based until you got pregnant.
Forget.
So tell us about this, because I know I think it's easier for me because, you know, to get all these things because I am a meat eater. So tell me about first, let's start with your little shift. How did that change and why did it change?
Yeah, so I was like plant-based for about 7 years, 7 years. At around 6 years, I started incorporating eggs into my diet. Once in a while, I'd really crave like fatty fish, so I'd like incorporate that once in a while. But yeah, generally, predominantly plant-based. And then like a couple of months before I got pregnant, I started craving lamb. And I was like, I really want lamb, but I want it to be like really well sourced and like cooked really well. And so we had some lamb together, which was like really delicious and I loved. And then after that, I just wanted to eat more lamb.
And I think like, let me just put this note is before I got pregnant, I was eating a lot of lamb too. I was on my husband's parents' farm and his dad has lamb there. So he just like killed a lamb for us. So we were eating like a lot and there could be a correlation.
Yeah, well, basically lamb is very high in protein, has a lot of fat as well, which is what your body needs as well to create life. So protein and fat are like really important. Now, when I talk to women who are maybe trying to conceive or early on in their pregnancy, I'm like, you need protein and fat. Like, you need to combine them together. So yeah, it makes sense. But it took a while for me to kind of like progress into eating like meat more regularly. So I was like supplementing with, there's this herbal supplement called Floradix, which is like a liquid. It's like liquid iron, and it's made from all different berries and leafy greens, and it's like this liquid that you take, and it's a lot easier on your stomach than the iron pills that they give you, which constipate you. So it was like a bit of a journey in that. When people say, "Did you have any cravings?" I'm like, I forget that like animal protein was one, but it makes so much sense now that I understand why.
Do you remember that you went to this doctor who told you something about eating like a wolf?
Oh, yes. Yes. Yeah, so I was in Barcelona, actually. We came for your wedding. And you were like, there's this doctor you should go see.
Oh, yeah. Ariana. She's great.
So our first scan was with her. And I told her, like, I really want lamb. And she was like, yes, you're like a wolf now. So you have to eat like a wolf. And I was like, what?
She's great.
Yeah, she's an incredible woman. Yeah, a really good doctor. And I was like, okay. So then straight after that consultation, like the next day we went and we had like lamb chops, and it's at a Spanish restaurant, which like portions in Spanish restaurants are huge. I was sitting there eating lamb chops, and my husband's like looking at me like,
what happened to my vegetarian wife?
Channeling my inner wolf. But yeah, it makes sense. Like, obviously you can also have a baby as if you choose to be plant.
That was what I was going to ask. So what do you now tell women who choose to be vegetarian or vegan?
Yeah. So, I mean, they have to be very mindful of like what they're eating, like how much they're eating. I don't usually recommend like supplements as much as I recommend food. So like stuff like lentils, beans, leafy greens, all those things need to be really high in, they need to have big portions of that in their diet. And then, basically they need to keep on top of like their B12. They need to supplement with B12, which I tell them to, which most women are usually if they are vegetarian, definitely if they're vegan. Calcium from dairy products. Hopefully fermented dairy is better, like you're having your yogurt. But yeah, it's, I can't imagine being pregnant and not having animal protein. Obviously, like I source as best as I can, but yeah.
Yeah, I think this is one of the biggest things for me as well. It's like I spent months and months going through creating this huge list and going through all the organic farms around the area. And they have this like huge document now where I found all kinds of meat, where I get my meat straight from the farm, grass fed, well taken care of, organic, and it's just a world of a difference. Because if I go now to a restaurant and I have meat, it's not the same and it doesn't feel the same.
The thing with lamb is that generally lamb is grass fed in general. So like it's probably the safest one if you were to eat out. But yes, beef, definitely, chicken.
That's a good trick.
Because it's not very popular. Most people don't really like eat lamb.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't like the smell.
Yeah, because it's quite gamey. But yeah, so the quality is super important. Like when we were in Mallorca, we found this guy and I was like, I really want beef. But even at the organic shops, what I was finding was like, didn't look good. I was like repulsed by it. So yeah, if you can source the best possible grass-fed, pasture-raised is the best option, especially when you're pregnant or for your family and your children. Like, it's not always possible, but if you can make the extra effort, I would 100% say to go for that. And yeah, you're just really like...
I just want to make a comment. This whole switch from plant-based to eating animal protein needed a lot of emotional flexibility from your end. Because I feel like there's a lot of judgment, expectation on that we put on ourselves when we go vegetarian, plant-based, which I
was a plant-based chef. That was like my career, was being a plant-based chef. So like it was, it was crazy, but it felt really like my body felt really nourished when I was eating those foods. And so I was like, okay, it's interesting. Yeah, but I went through all different sorts of emotions. I was like, this is...
One of the biggest things I work on with my clients is like this emotional flexibility aspect, because emotional flexibility helps us evolve and change opinions and change ideas, because we're not supposed to be set on one idea. So this idea worked for 5 years, but I can't stick to it because my life changed and these values have to change. So, and I think this is one of the biggest things I also learned during my pregnancy and work with people on. It's emotional flexibility. Black and white always doesn't sit well with me at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I kind of went off of social media at that point, during my pregnancy and afterwards for a while. And, coming back on, like all of my feed is like plant-based people. And I felt like such a fraud at one point. I was like, oh my God, I feel like so guilty or like that. And like for a little while, like when I was posting about food, like I wouldn't post when I was having like about like animal-based foods. And it was like this, it was like a real like question of my identity. And I was like, this is so strange.
And it's a big thing about identity work. That is a great topic that we have to get into. What's all like your work, next, your work and your identity.
I mean, obviously I started being plant-based for like medical reasons, but then I also realized that it was also a lot tied into like my outside appearance and like, it was actually really deep work.
It's a big, it's deep work. And I think pregnancy brings a lot up. And that's why I said like, it's a piece of evolution, because if we kind of like bring it all back now and kind of look at it, it's the transformation that I have done and the growing that I have done throughout my life. And then throughout my pregnancy, the hormones and everything really also help. A lot of people are afraid of being emotional during pregnancy and all of this, but this can be really, really used for you to evolve and get better and really heal, because I feel like I've healed a lot of things. One of the things also that I healed was my issue with epidural. And this is one of the things that psychotherapist helped me. So I went in with this idea of, if I give up and not do a home birth, I mean, like I can't do the home birth, the pain is too much, and I take an epidural, that means I have failed. And that means I'm not a good enough woman if I do this. And that came from my mother again, which is a belief that my mother, I don't know where I picked it up, but I picked it up from my mother somewhere. And it's because she was very, very anti-epidural, because she believed that the babies are better awake when they're born. And I do believe that too. But then in a lot of different emergency situations, you have to do it. So going in feeling that if things don't go to plan, this is really the gist of it, yeah? If I don't follow through with my plan, I am weak and I am not a good enough woman, is one of the biggest things I healed. Because I remember when that time came and I felt like, oh, I'm about to give up, I didn't judge myself at all. And that didn't affect how I felt about how things are going to go or would go or what I was asking for. So I think this is one of the biggest things I healed during pregnancy and why pregnancy was such an important thing for me. What is the biggest thing you healed?
Yeah, no, I feel like that. I mean, there's so many things, but like definitely my relationship with my body was one that was huge. And like it kind of ties into the whole like veganism. Like I didn't ever call it veganism, but like plant-based. It was also like when I started like looking into it, it was also a lot to do with like my body and like losing weight and
being skinny.
Yeah, exactly. And once my body's like, obviously like you're pregnant, like your baby is showing like, you know, it's, you can't hide it, but you're looking at it and you're like, I found it like so beautiful. I was like, this is the most beautiful thing ever. And then I was just like, why? And my belly was always like the most like vulnerable place of my body that I didn't like about my body or whatever. And like now I was looking at my belly and I was like, I love my belly. It was like, I was just like, I have to remember this. And like, I have to kind of appreciate, one, the power of my body, that like she is able to like do such incredible things and like grow bones and fingers and toes and nails and like all of these things in another being, but also like how much my body was able to like look after me. And like, why would I keep like worrying about like how it looked? You know, it was so deep. And I was just like, I kept being like, I have to remember this, because after I give birth, you know, a lot of women are like, I have to bounce back. And it's like, no, like, yes, there is obviously that your body, most women are like, what is this body now? Is like empty and baby and like, it looks so weird. Like a lot of women cannot relate to how, and I did also experience that. But, yeah, I was like, just like, changing the relationship with my body and loving my body no matter what, and being like, it's not about that. Life is not about that. There's so much more to life.
Yeah, and I think like one of the things I also did was like, I think I dressed sexy during my pregnancy. I felt that. Before, I didn't want to.
Me too.
I didn't want to be that. And I had big issues with kind of like, you know, it has to be put together, it has to be perfect. But now, postpartum, I didn't have bad feelings about my body during my pregnancy. Postpartum is when all that stuff is showing up. So to kind of conclude this like 2-part episode, because I think is that pregnancy is empowering, especially if you let go of all these expectations and stop watching all these Instagram videos of all these people doing all these crazy things. And especially when you give birth, stay away from Instagram, believe me. And I think it's just allowing yourself to experience it for yourself and and asking for help and doing therapy. The best therapy you'll ever do is during your pregnancy.
Yeah, your intuition is heightened to the maximum. So like lean into that, lean into how much you can connect with your inner self and with the outer world as well.
And I just also want to remind you, eat during pregnancy.
Eat and nourish yourself in the best way possible. Like you are feeding your child's future health as well as your own. So eating during pregnancy is very important if you can. A lot of mothers can't eat during pregnancy because they experience such high amount of nausea, but there are ways around that. But yeah, if you can eat a balanced, well-sourced, good whole foods diet, it makes a huge difference for your recovery, for everything. So yeah.
I definitely agree. So thank you so much, everyone. I hope you really enjoyed our first and second episode. It was really a joy for us to delve into this pregnancy. I feel like there's so much more we can talk about. So you can always send us questions and maybe we can do another episode on pregnancy answering your questions.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you and see you next time. Thank you for listening to this episode today. If you enjoyed this episode, please click like, subscribe to support us.
You can also find us on Instagram at eat.cringe.heal, also on YouTube and anywhere where you can listen to podcasts.
See you on the next episode.